Hello and welcome to the first podcast, the Magic Self and Spirit podcast. Today we're looking at the magic of Mabon and Ostara from the point of view of the fall equinox. And this is some of the work that we're going to do around this. Now, podcasting is something that excites us a great deal. It's a huge way to communicate with many people and an opportunity for us to begin to really sort of work with people. So this is the first step for us. This is the first podcast for us. As we say, we're doing it as a live feed here on Facebook, but it will also go out as a podcast across the internet, the podcasting stations and the video stations. Hi Trish, hi Robeles, and it's a very exciting new project we're taking on. So we wanted to start here. We wanted to start on the equinox because the equinox is so extraordinarily powerful. Hello to everybody arriving. Hello Cindy. Hello Dawn. Hello Melissa. And we wanted to work with, you know, what's actually available magically at the equinox, particularly at Mabon. What's actually available at that time of balance and that time of crossover. We wanted to really work with an opportunity to work with a different kind of deity today for us. We've been working with a lot, firstly with the pagan deities around the moon magic, and we've also been working with a lot of the ancient Egyptian deities around the books and the courses we're teaching. So we wanted to work today with Demeter or Demeter, or however it is you happen to pronounce your ancient Greek. I'm going to call her Demeter so I don't have to think about it too hard, and also she's recognizable as that name, so we wanted to work with her as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about the equinox in magical senses, in opportunity senses, in manifestation senses, and also talk about a little bit about the spring equinox as well, Ostara, for two reasons. One is the autumn equinox doesn't really make any sense at all without reference to the spring equinox. It's balance, it's mirror. And also on the planet, of course. We're going out across the English-speaking world, and obviously there are English speakers in the Southern Hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, but also in other countries that English isn't the primary language as English speakers. So they will be in the spring equinox right at the moment. So we wanted to kind of include that balance in, because the balance is extraordinarily important magically in terms of creation and destruction, in terms of reflection, in terms of how they reflect each other and in lots of ways are the same thing told from the other end, that kind of thing. So we wanted to cover that, but we also wanted to work with the transmutational meditation, which we will do at the end of this process. And the transmutational meditation is beautiful if you've not come across it before. It's something that we've introduced as an idea. It is guided meditation, but it works with symbols, it works with ritual magic, it works with different systems. It kind of shows you how to do the magic inside of yourself, so it transforms you in order for you to be able to do the kind of magic around whatever it is you're choosing to develop. And this is one of the reasons that we work this way, because it imprints it. It's not like you have to remember it or learn it all. It imprints it in your unconscious mind, and it becomes more natural, quicker, and it's a quicker journey, which is why we're kind of working these kind of ways. So as a number of people who arrived, saying good morning to Sheila Dudley's here. Well, hello Sheila. Diana, Karen White, hello Linda, hello Kiva. Hello from New Zealand. Teresa, happy spring equinox for you. Happy Ostara. And so we will be working with both Mabon and Ostara today, although the focus is on Mabon from the point of view of the Northern Hemisphere, primarily because we have more people attached to us from the Northern Hemisphere than we do from the South right at the moment. Anyway, we've called the podcast Celebrate the Magic of Mabon and Ostara at Fall Equinox. And we wanted to talk about, you know, how when we focus on Mabon, which was the pagan name for the autumnal equinox, without reference to Ostara, which is the vernal equinox, is like trying to understand abundance without lack, dark without light, or death without life. They're by definition intrinsically linked, For as we greet the harvest in the northern hemisphere, the joyous spring is celebrated in the south. On this day, light and darkness are equally balanced. Dark is in the ascendancy in the north, and light is in the south. They are one of the same equation. This balance is the magic of Mabon and Ostara. The mythology of Demeter. The ancient Greek Earth Mother is rich with spiritual and magical and initiatory symbology. When we dig into them, they reveal tools for knowledge and gnosis and ascension and the power to create your life in the way that you choose. Immanence, which is the divine ever present in everything. So God is in nature, God is in everything, or the goddess or whatever is in everything. Everything that ever existed, ever exists now, or ever will exist in the future is already accessible here. Everything is in material universe, and that's the idea of immanence. And its opposite, transcendence. God, goddess, the divine is more than the whole of life. It's more than everything that's available. It's the sum parts of it and more and bigger, and it's eternal. And these are the two philosophical thoughts around spirituality. For me, they're both. For me, both are true. For me, I can work from both ends. In actual fact, I can work from both ends because I work with both, rather than just because I work with one. It gives me access to a whole range of ideas. It gives me access to a whole range of experience. It gives me access to a whole range of magic. And this is why I work in those kind of ways. The understanding and appreciation of the sorcery of the equinox produces a kind of spiritual depth. It creates a place beyond the superficial stories in Demeter's myths, and it's a blueprint for magical power and personal power. The magic of Mabon and Ostara. Mabon is the coming of winter. Mabon is the other side of the coin to Ostara. The dates are exactly reversed, like looking into the mirror of your memory and consciousness. We celebrate the abundance of the harvest, much of which is sown at Ostara. The vegetables and the grasses, the meats have been stored and salted for the festivals to come as we take the first steps into the darkness. On this day, we experience our senses at full strength. We can see the physical outcome of our magic and manifestations, yet we're gazing into the coming darkness, the inner world, where we must go to die and be reborn anew. The earth is about to move into barrenness and infertility. We are about to commune with our dark sides in the depths of the sleepy unconscious mind. We know for sure the outcome of our magic, yet there's still more that's required. The triple goddess. With the trilogy of the triple goddess, Demeter, the mother, has given birth, and we're aware of the coming goddess as crone, elderly wise woman, bringer of death in the shape of the goddess Hecate. We've seen the benefits and the joys of the light. Now is the time to call our power from the time of the long nights. The buried magic, nurtured by our unconscious minds. As we observe the coming darkness in our meditations and rites, our minds give form and structure to the inner child, the spirit of that same unconscious mind. As we begin to call forth into consciousness, so we can access the power of our primal animalistic selves. This is the journey of working with the unconscious mind. This is the journey of getting hold of the inner power. It brings balance to the conscious mind, to the superconscious mind, and brings much more power with it. All of them together take us to a new level. This is the gift of darkness, the sorcery of balance. Here is the magic of gratitude as we own our manifestations in their entirety. The beauty of the equinoxes is that the other is always present. As the sun passes through the constellations of Virgo the Virgin and Libra the Balance, due to the movement of the earth, as it turns away from the sun each night, the constellations of its opposite are present. The very stars we see in the sky at night at the moment are the stars that provide the background for the sun at the spring equinox, the vernal equinox at Ostara. We see them at night because the sun is moving through space. The background is here where the stars are. The sun is moving through space. The earth is following it, but it's turning away at night, so it looks to its opposite stars. So the nighttime celebrations at Mabon are under the star canopies of Ostara, Pisces and Aries. The full power of these sister festivals are always present at the equinox. Ostara, the birth of spring. Ostara falls about March the 23rd, give or take a day or so, in the northern hemisphere, and 6 months apart on September the 23rd in the south. At the spring equinox, the land is awakened. There's sap in the trees, and the animals have come out of hibernation. Here is the time of the dawning of the light, birth in the sense of the emergence from darkness, the womb, the underworld, or the unconscious mind. This is very much a new time, a new place. It's a change from the time of darkness. The full overtime has now clicked into the light, been on the ascendancy. The festivals of the awakening of the senses, yet it is the balance. The light is here, but so are the shadows. Everything is moving in reverse of where it was only a few short weeks before. Your magical will has been tested. You can see the probability of your goals or magical rights coming into fruition. Yet still they haven't arrived at Ostara. The passion, drive and lust are being awakened. The child as maiden goddess, Persephone of the flowers and vegetation, of your inner child has emerged. It's time for new magic. That dance is the balance of light and shadow, bringing about your manifestation at its highest potential. The flames are alight inside of you, yet this is the festival of air. The element drives us to create form and structure onto the chaos of your unconscious mind. Ostara is the opportunity for the magic of gratitude. You've lived through the cold winter months, and the new life is upon you. So let's have a look at Demeter, the great Earth Mother. Demeter, the ancient Greek goddess, was one of the most influential deities of the Olympian pantheon. There are two magical paths of working with her which are both relevant to the magic of the equinox and its correspondences. The first is a kind of more traditional way of honouring Demeter as a living goddess and offering dedication and worship. That's the first path. The other sees the goddess as what the magician Michael W. Ford calls a deific mask. This is like a powerful thought form created by thousands, if not millions, of humans, and empowered by thousands and millions of people worshipping her over a millennia. What we need to understand is whether she's truly, like any god or goddess, whether they're truly independent of humanity before humanity arrived beings who are the goddess and god, or whether they are actually created by humanity. In some ways doesn't really matter because they're both really effective. And it really depends on whether you choose to follow her path literally or symbolically. It doesn't really make a difference to the magic. Mabon Like all of the Sabbats. The Sabbats are the eight, beg your pardon, festivals of the sun in the pagan calendar. Mabon, the autumn equinox, the fall equinox, is one of them. They occur about every 6 weeks, and they kind of tell the story of the movement of life from birth to young person, to young adult, to parent, to elderly person, to death. And it goes round the cycle as it moves round with the seasons of the year, as it moves round the cycle of the whole year. Now the sun does this over a year, and the moon does it over a month. So we've got ways of playing with the different natural, powerful, I was going to say planets, kinda, stars. What's the moon? Is it a planet? No, it's a satellite, but it's still a powerful being in its own right. It's at Mabon, it's an opportunity to practice gratitude. In some of those traditions, other pagan traditions, magic is part of the devotional practice. So some groups of pagans across the world will work with magic as part of the celebrations of the Sabbats every 6 weeks of the earth, of the sun. And others will just go in for devotional practice of worship of Demeter or whichever deity they're working with. One of the earlier myths of Demeter sees her as the all-powerful goddess of the harvest. A key figure, as the ancient Greeks were totally dependent on grain. In terms of your magic, the symbolism of Mabon, Demeter and the harvest equinox together create an energetic opportunity to move into abundance. So how's this done? Let's start with gratitude. The magic of Mabon and Ostara begins with gratitude. Revelers, worshippers and magicians would offer the first fruits, vegetables and grasses to the gods of the farm and of the fields. Demeter would receive the first grain and cereals, often in the shape of bread, baked in the shape of male genitalia, so kind of penis loaves, that kind of thing. Dionysus would be given the first grapes or some of the first wines, which would be used for libation. Libation is where you have liquid, wine, beer, water, whatever, depending on the deity, and you pour it to the earth or over the statue of the deity as an offering, as an honouring of that deity, particularly when you're doing magic. So in this case, it would be probably onto the ground because she was the harvest goddess, unless there happened to be a statue of her. But that was more Egyptian than Greek, so it was probably onto the ground. It was a form of honouring in both worship and magic. Athene would be offered the first olives, and there was this festival called a Thesmophoria, which was celebrated just outside of Athens each year, and is a good example of the work of both of this, particularly around the work of gratitude. The surface story about gratitude is it's a moralistic approach to gratitude and abundance. It's the idea that by thinking and giving reverence to a divine being, you petition the goddess. And that way you hope to increase the chances that you'll receive some kind of abundance, or at least protection from starvation for you and your family and your tribe. But when you work with gratitude as magic, you see the process. It's not as a petition. It's not begging. It's a form of aligning yourself with the energy that attracts toward you what it is you choose. Because if you gave gratitude for something, you're giving consent that it's already here. If you say, thank you for my financial abundance, what you're actually saying, what you're actually feeling when you put yourself completely in that energy is that you are financially abundant. You don't thank for something you don't have, unless you're being sarcastic, but then that doesn't really work with magic. As one of the correspondences of Mabon is abundance, so you've got the harvest, and the harvest relates to people being able to eat and have full bellies and be happy. That originally, obviously, and still now, is a definition of abundance. So being thankful for the harvest, going into gratitude, you're going into the energy of abundance, and therefore you're drawing it towards you. Gratitude assumes that abundance is already present, and therefore by the law of sympathetic magic, abundance arrives. That is the key thing around this part of the magic. By the law of what you are attracts what you are, sympathetic magic, abundance arrives. Gratitude and the spirit of the unconscious mind. In our book Unlock the Power of the Inner Child, we work with the idea of the spirit of the unconscious mind being the inner child. Honouring the soul contract between the conscious and unconscious minds empowers both in spiritual growth and magical ability. It is the unconscious mind that leads the process of building and changing reality, and hence a practice of gratitude aligns you with those things you choose. Consider the following. The unconscious mind works in learned patterns. The regular practice of the attitude of gratitude creates a pattern which supports your inner child to work with your desires. It allows you to focus on what you choose with the unbending belief that you can create it. The unconscious mind doesn't understand negatives. The language we use for manifesting is extremely important. Gratitude keeps you in clarity about what you can manifest, as opposed to what you don't want. You're working with manifestation, you're working with magic, you're focused on what you do choose. You give no power to what you don't want. The inner child likely feels abandoned by the conscious mind. In gratitude for the work it does, as in not having gratitude, i.e. the creation of reality, it's the unconscious mind, the inner child, that creates your reality. If you don't have gratitude, it can add to the already present schism between the two minds, making it more difficult to realize your magical goals. Gratitude has the power to combine those minds. The symbolism inherent in this part of the Demeter myths brings us back to the inner balance of the equinox, and through gratitude into the awareness of who we are as creators. The balance of light and dark. The equinox is the time of balance, the light and the darkness. The day and night have equal influence upon our physical lives. Here we find the heart of the magic of Mabon, or Mabon, and Ostara. At Mabon, the dark and the night, the unconscious mind, and the void are on the ascendancy. The time for dreaming the future is upon us. Ostara, by definition and contrast, is the opposite. The light is growing, the time of the sun is coming, new life has been born. Demeter and Persephone. Probably the most well-known story of Demeter relates to her daughter Persephone. Persephone was the goddess of spring, flowers and vegetation. She is the half-sister to Despone, goddess of the winter and the mysteries. Symbolically, both the daughters are aspects of Demeter, and as Mother Earth, she is the goddess of the whole year. As the story goes, Hades, lord of the underworld, abducts the beautiful Persephone and takes her to the underworld as his bride. When Demeter realizes her daughter is missing, she frantically searches for her across the earth and eventually learns of her fate. Demeter, in her anger, refuses to support the earth with its bounty, and the planet begins to become barren. Eventually a compromise was reached. Persephone would remain in the underworld for 6 months of the year and return to Demeter for the other half of the year. Now, if we look at this as a surface story, it's an explanation of how the seasons work for the ancient Greeks and how the experience of physical life revolves. It's a description of immanence. Divinity is in the experience of life on Earth and how it functions. It's a description of the year moving and how that is the god and the goddess, how that is the whole story of humanity from the point of view of immanence. The fact that winter is cold and barren and summer is hot and fertile is explained by Persephone's absence and then presence. The deeper or symbolic story here is that spiritual and magical maturity relates to both light and darkness. From the point of view of chaos magic and other approaches devoid of religion, the light relates to your higher mind, the dark to your unconscious primal self. Real spiritual and magical knowledge and power requires a balance of both, the realization of your whole self, holism, holy, holiness. Demeter, an Erish Theon. There's another myth of Demeter related to this very theme. Erish Theon was a man who, according to the story, boasted an unreasonable ambition. He cut down a consecrated forest grown to honor Demeter. The goddess cursed him to be consumed by an endless hunger which could never be satisfied. Soon all of his money was spent, and eventually through an insatiable hunger, Erish Theon ate parts of himself, leading to his death. Okay, the surface story here, again, is moralistic. It says something like, too much ambition is bad and a lack of respect for divinity leads to some terrible suffering. It's a religious idea that still holds sway today. Fortunately, there are more useful ways to unpack this story. Literal interpretations of this kind of myth are imbalanced. They assume that divine beings are susceptible to the petty jealousies of the herd mind. Read metaphorically, as all mythologies were meant to be, this story provides a way to look at the balances of parts of yourself and the balance of part of reality. The deeper or symbolic story. The forest symbolically is the unconscious mind. It's the world of sleep or of the void. This is the place of spiritual testing that pushes our ascent forward. It is where we delve into the spiritual and magical mysteries of nature and sexuality. The forest symbolically represents our primal symbol of life and abundance. As Erish Chithon destroyed the forest, he put himself out of balance. He was cut off from a large part of his true nature. This drove him into self-destructive behavior, or to put it another way, to eat himself. He was unable to evolve. Initiation in the magic of Mabon and Ostara. The desire to realize our potential is what draws us towards our spiritual truth and magical practice. Yet, as all of us who actively choose to follow their paths will attest, it's never easy. Most of all, profound spiritual and magical growth is initiatory. It leads us through experiences that cause us to dig deep within our darkness and face our fears. It pushes us to burn away the hubris of belief, practice and ritual so typical of religion, science and the collective consciousness of the herd mind. Our spiritual definition of hubris comes from Greek tragedy, where the protagonist demonstrates excessive pride or defiance towards the gods, resulting in having to face his nemesis. How would I read this as a chaos magician? For me, there's no greater god than self. Any denial of this leads the individual to give power away and turn to the safety of what the herd mind thinks, rather than face the nemesis of my own shadow in the underworld. Mabon is the invitation to initiation. All that we fear will be led to. All that we avoid will be manifest. For what you resist persists. As we gaze into the immediate future at Mabon, we know we're looking, we know we're gazing, we know we're focusing into the darkness, and all that that symbolizes. The point of initiation is to choose the challenge, the nemesis, the unhealed shadow. It is to face yourself at the deepest and darkest place and transmute it through into the balance and power. This is the great opportunity afforded by working with the Sabbats to access the magic of Mabon and Ostara. So we have the opportunity to take on the challenge of the shadow. This is the deepest story of Persephone. She descends by choice to the underworld and faces herself at her darkness and ascends as the powerful goddess of spring. This is the archetypal journey of initiation, also taken by the goddesses of other pantheons, Ishtar, Inanna and Lakshmi. This is the myth of Demeter as dark goddess, or as the crone, Hecate. Triptalenos and Demethon were the young sons of King Solis. In the myth, the king offered shelter to Demeter while on her quest to find Persephone. In order to return the kindness, Demeter chose to give the two boys immortality, and using her magic placed them in the fire. There's a long story that sees their mother arriving and pulling her children from the fire, etc. Yet the story is deeply initiatory in its structure. It describes the fires of transmutation and also concurrently the symbolic transformation of the inner child in order to ascend. Initiation is the tearing away of the masks of illusion in the darkness of the unconscious mind. It is the journey into the mysteries that each tradition reflects. Initiation is the choice to deliberately investigate the knowing of creation and eternity. It is the doorway out of the belief that things just happen to me, or what Friedrich Nietzsche called the herd mind. Growth and development of consciousness. Demeter was one of the earliest goddesses in the ancient Greek pantheon. As the Great Mother, she was loved by her people and credited with the teaching of the arts of agriculture and husbandry. The ancient Greeks transformed from being nomadic to being able to settle in one place, build farms and eventually cities. The whole experience of consciousness changed from the survival of the nomadic tribe into the opportunity of not only stability but also abundance due to trade. Abundance is a gift to spiritual consciousness, a stepping stone to the conclusion of whichever way you look at it, magical mastery and manifestation. Working with Demeter at Mabon, we can gaze into the upcoming darkness of the security of the harvest. The magic of Mabon invites us to penetrate the darkness and with our dreaming minds observe our new goals, thus giving them knowledge that they will come into being as we've already evolved our consciousness. Immanence and transcendence. Immanence and transcendence are usually discussed in the context of religion. The magic of Mabon and Demeter, however, gives us the opportunity to collapse the duality into spiritual power. The philosophy of immanence sees God, goddess, divinity as here and now. They are expressed as the eternal cycles of nature, as the spirit of the planet, trees, animals, and humanity, etc. Transcendence, in contrast, denies the divinity of the land and sees God as beyond everything which is known and can be known. From the point of view of chaos magic and other alternative approaches, both and neither are true. The land, the seasons, life and Mother Nature herself are expressions of the divine spirit, expressions of self as God or goddess. The seasons move in cyclic ways for eternity, and thus external spirituality constantly reflects back to me as a divine spirit and creator of reality. Yet while seeing into the darkness, the void, the coming expression of death and rebirth, we can also see ourselves as more, as a creator, as greater, more powerful, as expressions of everything, the all. Mabon is both immanence and transcendence, the unending magic of our potential. Demeter looks into the underworld and sees Persephone. Persephone is eternal throughout each cycle, yet has changed and evolves each cycle as she is both spring and death in turn and concurrently. So, get yourself ready for meditation. Find a comfortable seat. Relax. Prepare yourself for a journey into the magic of Mabon and Ostara. You know, it could be that you're just ready to relax your mind and body. You've been waiting for this opportunity to let go and experience the balance of the equinox, haven't you? And as soon as you're ready, you'll probably just relax and let go, won't you? That's right. It could be that your eyelids are beginning to feel heavier with the expectation of magic and spiritual transformation. Yet, I'm not going to tell you to close your eyes. You'll do it when you're ready, won't you? That's right. You'll just close them when you like. And as you consider the potent magic of the equinox, you may find it really simple and elegant to just let go. To just let go of any tension in your mind and body. So, will you find ways to relax deeper? Or will you just gently fall, gently relax into the most profound relaxation ever? I don't know. Do you? What I do know, however, is it's just not important. It really doesn't matter, does it? Because I guess you're already halfway there. Because maybe secretly you're already ready to receive joy. Already ready to just let go. That's right. Easy, isn't it? Can you feel your feet on the ground, or relaxed, propped up on some comfortable surface? And can you sense your tongue heavy and still in your mouth? A slight internal tingling? You know, it really doesn't matter. It's not important. These are just some irrefutable signs of how relaxed you're becoming as you ready yourself to experience the fullness of the harvest of Mabon magic. Your muscles and limbs are just letting go. It may be that you're now so relaxed that you can't perceive these senses, or maybe you can feel these inner sensations and know for sure just how relaxed you are. But as I say, it really doesn't matter as you let go even further, does it? That's right. And it could be now, as you notice your breathing, your inspiration and exhalation, that you remember just how pleasurable life is. You breathe in and out. In and out. In and out. Yes, that's right. The pleasure is exquisite, isn't it? Probably you'll find as your breathing is rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, that you cannot not remember the bliss of deep relaxation, because when you were a child, dreaming, breathing and deep relaxation were just so natural, weren't they? So natural that accessing your dreaming mind may be so easy, so instinctual, so programmed into your mind that you may choose to relax even deeper than you've ever done before. That's right. Yes. So easy, isn't it? You know, I once heard of a spiritual teacher that would use guided meditation as a magical tool for transformation. He told me that the key was to use symbols and the rituals of sorcery right inside the meditations themselves. I found that amazing. Wouldn't you agree? And you know, when I asked him what the most important thing to do would be, he said, "You're standing at the top of a flight of stairs in a movie theater, and use the stairs in the movie screen to count yourself down into deeper and deeper relaxation. So maybe you'd agree, as you breathe in and out, in and out, in and out, that there's some benefit for you to relax. As you take your first step down and the number 13 flashes across the screen, and perhaps already you can feel what he meant as you find yourself relaxing deeper. It could be that you decide, you know it's really up to you, that as you take the next steps down 12, 11, 10, and you find you're becoming so relaxed that relaxation and magic go hand in hand, and my friend really was a master. So as you just sit there, it might be a good idea to trust what's been said to you as you take the next steps. 9, 8, 7, and you find yourself so relaxed because you're already halfway down the flight and you're finding the solutions to your relaxation and magic. You might have noticed the extraordinary effect that just simply descending this flight of stairs is having on your body and your mind. And best of all, you don't have to think or do anything at all. In the deepest relaxation you've ever experienced, you can take the next steps down into bliss. 6, 5, 4, and eventually all resistance and tension just dissipates. And as you take the next 3 steps, 3, 2, 1, if you choose to focus your attention on just how relaxed you've become and how much better you feel already, your unconscious mind can figure out exactly how you can relax yourself further. And you'll need to do, and all you'll ever need to do, is open the big brown oak door with your name on a golden plaque in front of you and pass through it into another world. And yet all that would be required, if you so choose, is to breathe in and out, in and out, in and out, as you close that door behind you. That's right, isn't it? And as you find yourself between the worlds, I only want you to relax yourself deeper. I only want you to pass through the veil of light before you. I only want you to imagine that it is so. Yes, That's right. Have you ever wondered quite how incredible your spiritual potential is? How just by relaxing your mind and body, you can step into the most powerful, magical stories and change your life forever. That's right. Isn't it so? And maybe, as you focus on your breathing, in and out, in and out, in and out, you can remember ways of implementing these magical stories right into your unconscious mind. Likewise, you may remember a time, perhaps in childhood, when you saw fields burning after the harvest had been reaped, and you may remember just how hypnotic those flames were. And as your breath is rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, perhaps you can see those posts, harvest fields, burning again. If not, it really doesn't matter. It's not important, because you have this awesome ability to just imagine those fields of fire. That's right. Isn't it so? And I wonder if, as your breath is rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, whether as you find yourself hypnotically drawn to the flames, if you sense yourself being in two worlds at once. And I wonder if, as you breathe in and out, in and out, in and out, you remember that this is the magic of Mabon. This is the magic of the equinox, balanced between life and death and rebirth. And I wonder if, as your breath is rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, whether you find your vision blurring as you look into the astral worlds, into the darkness of what's coming, into the depths of your unconscious mind, and if you are planting the secrets of the new intentions for your life. Maybe that's so, isn't it? That's right. And if you focus your attention on quite how relaxed you are, and you sense your breathing moving in and out, in and out, in and out, sooner or later you'll feel your mind dropping down, 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 down into yourself, deep into the unconscious parts of yourself, and sooner or later, as your breath is just rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, you'll drop so deeply into yourself that you'll remember that you're in a place where the physical world meets the astral worlds at the crossroads. The place where physical reality and astral waiting to be realized reality meet. And you might consider what happens when you stand on your own 2 feet at the center of those crossroads, and you speak aloud and command the manifestation of your will in the universe with the words, "It is my will that my physical life and health manifest at the highest and greatest potential. It is my will that my romantic and sexual life expresses itself at its greatest joy. It is my will that my business, career, and financial life grows and glows with abundance, prosperity, and freedom. It is my will that my spiritual and magical life glistens with the most profound knowledge and power." And you might consider what happens when you glance within the void, the chasm, the chaos that is the unmanifest future, and your mind begins to put form, color, and order around that future, and you see or imagine your health at its highest potential, and you see or imagine your romantic and sexual life expressing its greatest joy, and you see or imagine your business, career, and financial life glowing with abundance, prosperity, and freedom. You see or imagine your spiritual and magical life glistening with the most profound knowledge and power. And you might consider what happens when you focus your attention again on your breathing in and out, in and out, in and out. And you hear all around you the most captivating, magical incantation. Ithrachu mantantu vespachakaltamu. Ithrantamant kalamant atsut belt tasu. Vaskala ithratsu cantantu velchatsa. Ithrachu mantantu vespachakaltamu. Ithrantamant kalamant atsut belt tasu. Vaskala ithratsu cantantu velchatsa. Itsrachu mantantu vespachakaltamu, itsrantamant kalamant atsu beltasu vaskala, itsratsu kantantu velchatsa. Powerful, aren't you? Perhaps more powerful than you ever knew. Yes, that's right, isn't it? And maybe the deeper you breathe in and out, in and out, in and out. You realize how awesome your dreaming mind actually is, and how quickly it can summon your magic, because as you look around you on the crossroads, you may notice an ancient goddess leaning against a tree. It could be she looks both young and old at the same time, as others can do when you dream deeply. Isn't that so? And it could be that the more you observe her, the more you remember Demeter, the ancient mother goddess of the earth. That's right. And it's possible that as she observes you, a white staff in her left hand, and an owl just hovering above her raised right hand, that you find yourself tempted to follow her call. Isn't that so? For you may notice, just a little way behind her is a wall of fire, and sense as your breath is rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, that Demeter invites you to enter the fire. Receive her magic. Accept her magic of immortality. That's right. So will you accept her gifts of transmutation? Or just enter the fire and see what happens? Will you claim your right of Mabon initiation? Or draw your magic from everywhere in the universe and come into your power? Now. Yes, that's right. Burn away the doubts, the obstacles and limitations within the Mabon flames, inside the fires of the Equinox, now. Yes, that's right. Freedom and empowerment are exhilarating, aren't they? And the more you burn away, the more you find the inner gold of your soul. And maybe as you're transmuting the fears and disappointments of the old year, you'll find yourself looking into the yet unmanifest intentions in the darkness of the coming time. And perhaps you can see, or perhaps you'll imagine, your dreams, intentions and magic in gestation, arriving from the underworld with Persephone in the mirror at Ostara, rising up in beauty with your inner child, the spirit of your unconscious mind, into the full fruition of the powerful magician that you really are. For this is the magic of the Equinox. That's right. Isn't it so? And it could be, as you focus on your breath, breathing in and out, in and out, in and out, that you find yourself in another location, as often can happen in dreams, as your lungs are rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. You may realize that you've arrived back at the dark brown door with your name written on a golden plaque. And from your deeply relaxed state in your dreaming mind, climb back up the steps now. 1, 2, 3, feeling magic running through your toes, feet and legs, enlivening your body again. 4, 5 and 6, noticing your body coming back to life, the same yet totally transformed. 7, 8, 9, noticing your neck, head and face re-entering normal reality, yet somehow everything feels brighter with a greater sense of life. 10, 11, 12, back into the magic of our shared reality, connected to all of the universe as the conduit of its magic. Return now. Come back. Welcome back. Open your eyes. It's Rachu Mantantu Vespacha Kaltaumo Itzranta Mankala Mandatsu Beltasu Vaskala Itzratsu Kantantu Velchatsa. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Come back now. Come back. Come back. Come back, everyone. Let me know when you're back. Put something in the comments. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Is everybody back? Yay, welcome back, Karen. Everybody coming back through. Happy Equinox, everyone. Claim your magic. Change your world. Feel good and relaxed. That's good, Robles. Welcome back, Cynthia. Welcome back, everyone. Everyone on their way back in. That's cool. It's been a wonderful journey with you on this Equinox, and thank you for supporting our first podcast. We're going to transform this into video for YouTube and on our website, and audio, and put it right across all the different podcast channels. You accept and claim, yay, Melina Marie Smith. You accept and claim your magic, the starting point of all magic. Welcome back, everyone. I'll be back on Sunday for the Ask Spirit. And for those of you who are in the gym, this is the mastermind week between the courses. I'll open a room, come and talk to me. Tell me about your experiences with the courses. Tell me whatever questions you've got, or just come and say hello. I will open up at the same time as I always do. To anybody else that enjoyed the work, the lecture, the meditation, and would like to go on a journey with us in magic, in self-development, in your spirituality, we have the gym, the Spiritual Crossfire Gym. You can either come along and pay a very small subscription of $35 a month and have access to all of our teachings and our works and our meditations, or you can buy a one-off course if one interests you, which comes with a book and the videos of the meditation for $45. But to let you know, they're all available. We've done 3 courses on moon magic. We've done 2 courses on star magic, and the 3rd one is coming up starting a week on Thursday. And then we will have 3 courses on sun magic, which includes clairvoyance and magical ritual. Spirit guide work extended, if you like. Anyway, guys, been wonderful working with you. It's wonderful spending time with you. Have a great week. Come and see me on Sunday on Ask Spirit at the same time as we started this podcast. Take care.